All right, so we have quite a few customers who come from another e-commerce or e-commerce platform that perhaps isn't supported by Matomo, or if we don't have a direct integration method for. I think one of those might be BigCommerce, but I'm not sure. If we look at this website, for example, if I open my DevTools, first I'll add something to the cart. So I want to buy some ABS. And definitely general purpose for whatever reason, and I just buy now. And then I go to add to cart, and then I want to go to the cart, view cart. So now I'm in the cart, and let's say that so I'm this company Kerbal, and I come from BigCommerce, and I had everything set up in the Google Tag Manager data layer just how I wanted it. So Google would be able to track all of the e-commerce events to my Google Analytics account. But I want to use Matomo now, and I've already got all this set up. I don't want to change it. The good thing is that you can move away from Google Analytics, but still keep a Google Tag Manager data layer, because simply it's an object in the site just called data layer. So if I can just access that by typing in data layer and I hit enter, and I can see that this particular shop has an e-commerce event, and inside of, and that's a view cart event. Inside of there, we've got all sorts of information about the purchase that I can fairly easily track to Matomo without much work, thanks to the help of a guide that we've got on our website called Manual E-commerce Tracking with existing Google Tag Manager cart data. So if I look through this data layer, I can see the event was e-commerce. It's got an items array. In this case, I only have one item in the cart. It has item ID. It should have the SKU number. It's got the quantity, the price, and it's got the total cart value down here. It's the same as the item, because I only have one item and one type of item in one of those items. So this is a perfect setup, and you'll see this quite common in a lot of e-commerce platforms. Either they push the data to the Google Tag Manager data layer, or somebody has set up GA to push it in this way. So if I go back to this script, I'll show you a couple things. I'll show you how to track this. The first part of the script, it looks for the event e-commerce, and then it grabs the item information out of that event. So it creates a variable for it that we use later. So I'll copy this, and I will track this this particular site to my Matomo instance. So I'll just go to the Google Tag Manager, my Matomo Tag Manager UI, and I want to first track, create a trigger, because I want this script to fire anytime that someone lands on the cart page. So I can grab the URL for the cart, and then I just set up a trigger in Matomo for, I'll just set it on a page view trigger. And the condition is page URL, and I'll choose starts with, because I don't know if we're going to append query parameters in the URL or perhaps text fragments. So I don't want to limit it to exactly cart / So I'll say, as long as it starts with this, I'm probably on the cart page, so it'd be safe to inject the script that will track. So I'll just call this track cart and create that trigger. And I want that trigger to fire a tag. So I'll just go to tags and create a new tag. And in this case, I want to use a custom HTML tag, because I'm going to use custom script. There's no pre-configured tag for this in the tag manager, but this allows you a lot of flexibility. So I use custom HTML. I'll just call this one the track card. And I will say this does custom HTML, which I'll grab from here. It's very important that when you're using JavaScript in a custom HTML tag to remember that the custom HTML is HTML, not JavaScript. So we have to start it by indicating to the HTML that this is actually JavaScript. So you always want to have your opening and closing script tags if you're using JavaScript inside of a custom HTML tag. So I just paste that script in. I'll come down and I will grab so that just finds the e-commerce data. This actually tracks the cart data to Matomo. So copy this and throw it in. This script essentially loops through every item that's in the items object, and it finds the ID, the name, category, price, quantity. It tracks those individually, and then it tracks the value, which we can find in the tag manager. In the Google Tag Manager data layer here on the value. So I will grab that script and put it back into so put it back in here, and then I'll hit save after I assign this to the track cart trigger that we created a minute ago. So I create that tag, and then I can publish that container. Now, the other trick is, because I'm demonstrating this on some other site, and this is one thing I wanted to show you as well, is that we can use the browser's dev tools to modify script. This helps a lot when you're trying to troubleshoot things and you don't have direct access to the source code, or it would be difficult. You have to get to the developers to do so. So instead, we will just use the dev tools overrides in Chrome's dev tools. So if I go to Tag Manager install code, copy that.
This is my favorite trick that you do. You can just go to anybody's site and start adding JavaScript, and it won't mess them up, and you'll benefit.
Yeah, exactly, because it's all client-side script, right? So it doesn't matter to them at all. It's just my own browser manipulating script and doing things on my own end. Yes, it's pretty cool. So I've got the sources. One thing you want to know to turn this on is you've got to go to your settings, and under persistence, you want to enable local overrides. Once that's set, you can go to your sources tab at the top and click overrides. Make sure that enable local overrides is selected. You may have to, it will prompt you to choose a folder on your system where you want to save the overrides to, and that folder will store everything that you override. So the next time the site loads, it's going to look for that folder instead of the site to determine what the script should be. So anytime we have an override, the browser knows where to look for it. So everything's enabled, and I just go to the sources again, and I go to page, and I go to the main index page, and just under the head tag, I will add my Matomo Tag Manager tracking script, and then hit Control-S to save that. Now we go to the network tab, and I refresh the page, and I type in Matomo. You'll see the container loaded, and shortly after, you should see a page view being tracked. And you should see, okay, so that's a page view that works. And you should also see the cart being tracked, but we can't. So let's use the debug mode that comes with the tag manager. And we can use this on another site as well. I think Matomo's loading. It's not actually. Because I've changed the URL, it changes the override. There's no override for this particular URL because it appended this to the end. So if I use the same sort of hack again, and I go to this version of the page, then I can go to install code. I don't actually know why it's not working, but it's a good way to live troubleshoot, right? So under head, then I'll save that and I'll refresh the page one more time. Containers loaded, previews loaded, and I can look here and see what might be going on. So I have a page view trigger that fired. It fired the track cart custom HTML. In this case, it worked. I'm not sure what the difference was. Working now. So I can see that I'm tracking revenue. I'm tracking the item. Goal 0 is e-commerce. So I'm tracking the item to Matomo to site 85, which I've got it configured in my Matomo tag manager. And I can go back to my visit log because that's real-time data. That's real-time raw data. Scroll over to today. And I can see I've got an abandoned cart. So that's how it's tracked initially until you make a conversion. It just considers everything to be an abandoned cart because it doesn't know when you left the site or when you might make a conversion. So we've got revenue left in the cart is $36, quantity 1, and here's the item description. But I notice here that the price is 0, right? So that's possibly just a wrong attribute, a wrong variable mapping. So that's the first thing I'll look for to see if the variable is wrong. Again, I'll type in data layer. MTM cool, not interesting. I get a data layer, hit enter, and this is likely related to another tag that I have in my tag manager that doesn't work with this site. And if I go to where is it? E-commerce vCart, and I go to e-commerce and items, I can look at what the variable is called for the price. So it's called price. If I go back to what I've got in my tag manager, I'll just edit the track cart. And I look under price, it's item price. So, so we need to modify the script that we find here. This isn't compatible with every single data layer structure or the naming scheme. This is just to give you a good starting point, which it did for us. So we'll edit that in the custom HTML. So we're just tracking price instead of item price, and then update. And then I will publish once again and refresh the page over here. Okay, so it's tracked again, and I can just look through here. I can see that there's a price for this particular item now. And if I go back to the my instance, refresh that, I should find that there's a price now here. Perfect.
So I have a quick question before we leave this, because I know you're getting ready to maybe track the actual order. What would happen? Let's see. The last thing you pushed, you did pack.push add e-commerce item, right? What would happen if you redundantly hit add e-commerce item over and over again, like accidentally?
So that's exactly what this is doing. This is for each push add e-commerce item. So this is in a loop, right? So if you screwed something up and you made sort of a perpetual loop where you made a loop 100 times, it would track 100 items to Matomo. So yeah, actually, I think if the SKU is the same, it's a good question. If the SKU is the same, perhaps
I think it just overwrites the
override the SKU. Yeah, I think that's what it would do actually, because it wouldn't. It wouldn't have a, yeah.
It's not. So it's not additive. It wouldn't depend. Yeah, but if it was a new, okay, how about this? The next time you do it, it's a new SKU, then the same product remains, and then the new SKU product is added, right? You'd have two products then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
just checking.
Yeah, actually, if you yeah, if you do another cart update, your next cart update, if you're on a different page, like you've left that page, Matomo keeps in its memory the items that you have in your cart while you're on the page. If you go to another page and you track different items, it will override what you've tracked already to Matomo. So yeah, it's important to just grab the entire cart every time you push the cart to Matomo. It's good to grab the entire cart. We have another guide, Matomo quick start for e-commerce. And this guide suggests that you clear the cart every time you push the entire cart to Matomo to make sure that you don't have any information still left over from other cart items. It's too difficult to, in your script, to remember everything that you've got in the cart right now and edit those items. It's way easier if you have the total cart item array always present in your data layer to just clear out the cart and track all the items again. So if I add another toothbrush to my order. Then I delete the entire cart. I add back the toothpaste, the toothbrush, and the hand soap every time. So that just makes management easier. It's cleaner. You don't have to worry about these leftover items that shouldn't be in the cart. Yeah.
Okay, and we're about to track e-commerce order. Did you have one more thing you were going to show us?
Yeah. So let's assume I don't have access to the confirmation page unless I buy something on here, but I don't want to do that. So let's assume that this is the order confirmation page, and I want to track the order to Matomo. As I mentioned in the data layer, we have under the e-commerce or the view cart e-commerce event, we have the value. So that's the total cart value. So just go back to our guide, and this is tracking value, right? This order ID needs to be unique every time. So we'll change that because I probably tracked 1, 2, 3, 4 to my 5 to my instance before. You can fill in these if you have more information in the data layer for tax and shipping and such. But I just copy this, and I'll show you where to put that. You can just put it right at the bottom. And like I said, I'll just make up a random number for the order ID. And I've got value here, which is what's in the data layer at the moment. So I just update that, publish. I guess because I'm previewing, I don't need to publish, but that's what I did anyway.
We haven't made a trigger yet.
No, that I just added it to the existing tag, so it's going to track all the cart items plus the order all in one go. So that's the script that you would have on the confirmation page. It would again grab the whole cart, track it to Matomo, and then track the order. So there's my. So my order is here. And you know it's an order because it's got an e-commerce ID. If you look at the track cart, it doesn't have an e-commerce ID. That's the only difference really between the two. Once you throw the e-commerce ID into the parameters, then Matomo knows that it's an order, not just a cart ad. So there's the e-commerce ID, and I can go back to my instance, and there's my order. So e-commerce order, revenue, everything's correct. And there's my order ID that I just randomly passed to it.
And it's no longer an abandoned cart.
No longer abandoned cart, yeah.